Thank you, Bill. And Brian, it's good to have you home. We're glad you are back. And Kent and Todd, we are so grateful for the wonderful music we have here. So grateful for all the little things that happen, like Chris bringing me water when I got a tickle in my throat. Thank you, Chris. I don't know where you are, but thank you. Of course, today's lesson is entitled, Turn Your Thanksgiving into Thanks Living. Our co-founder Myrtle Fillmore wrote, "The practice of Thanksgiving should be observed in the home every day of the year, not just on a national holiday. And every great teacher the world has ever known has stressed the importance of gratitude. Jesus certainly practiced it. If you think about when he raised Lazarus, what was the first thing he said? Is, God, I thank you that you have heard my prayer, even before he uttered it. In fact, he was so grateful, he knew in his heart that he didn't even necessarily need to say the prayer. God had already provided the answer. Elisha practiced it. The Buddha practiced it. In all things, be grateful. Muhammad practiced it. Gratitude is the highest form of worship we can give to God, or to Allah in his language. Gratitude is something we do because it's expected or polite all too often. And yet, there is more to it than just what society expects, just what is considered proper. Gratitude is an attitude that acknowledges our good, even when sometimes it may not be obvious, that acknowledges that all that is needed is right at hand. That's what that phrase, the kingdom of heaven is at hand, means. It means all that is at hand. And when we have a grateful heart, when we're in a consciousness of gratitude, we create an energy then that draws out of that kingdom of heaven energy, which is the realm of all possibility. It draws it out and gives it form and makes it useful in our life. All the health that we could ever need, all the life that we could ever need is right here, right now. All the abundance in the form of our material good is right here, right now. All the peace, all the joy, all the love is right here, right now. When we have an attitude of gratitude for those things, we give them form and we bring them forth into expression. What would life be like, though, if we were in that consciousness all the time? Because let's face it, we're not. Turn on the news. Read your social media feed. Whatever. What would it be like, though, if we could shift where we put our attention? Shift where our consciousness is. Myrtle Fillmore wrote whole volumes about this. And one of the practices she recommended was do something as simple as think about the food you eat and where it came from. Let's take an apple. I meant to get an apple, I didn't. Pretend I have an apple, because it's here. I am grateful for this apple. One apple. How many people did it take for that one apple to be in your imagination or in your life? Think about it. You purchased it at Smith's or Albertsons or wherever. Some stocker had to take it out of the box and put it on the shelf. There's one person. A trucker had to bring it from the orchard or the farm or the warehouse to the store. 2 people, maybe 3 if it was 2 truck drivers. A laborer had to pick the apple. 4. But wait, there's more. Someone had to plant the apple tree and nurture it to maturity, and probably it took a team of people to do that. Someone had to build the tractor that prepared the field, that cuts the weeds, that does all that. I don't know, I've never grown an apple tree, but all that has to be done. Someone had to build that tractor. Someone had to learn how to build a tractor. Someone had to build the truck that brought the apple to you. Someone had to mine the steel that goes into those trucks and tractors. Someone had to learn how to process petroleum into gasoline and oil and how to drill down and get it. Someone had to invent the engines, refineries, learn how to pave roads and highways. Someone had to initially figure out that apples were even edible. The connection you have to your fellow human being in that one apple goes back probably millions of years to that very first person who was brave enough to say, I'm going to eat this, and if it kills me, we'll know we can't eat it. The list goes on and on. How grateful are we for one apple and all of the people it took to make that apple possible for you. And of course, God, who created the apple tree to begin with. And that's not what Eve ate, by the way, just in case you're wondering. Nowhere does it say it was an apple tree. So go ahead and eat an apple. But think about this. If any one person had not done their part in that long chain of events, you would not be eating that apple. How grateful am I for that apple? This Thanksgiving, when you're eating your dinner, think about everything on your plate and how many people really went into preparing that. Of course, there's your family and friends and whoever you're with that cooked it, maybe you that cooked it and prepared it, but how many others? And because of that, in that grateful attitude, that great attitude, we begin to feel a connection that goes out from our heart to the people we know immediately were involved in it, to the people beyond them and on them for thousands of years. When we say we are one, this is what we're talking about. If any one of us was not here, and by here I mean on this planet at this time, what blessings would others not have? If any one person you know or maybe even don't know were not here on this planet, what blessings would you be missing? That's what gratitude is. Gratitude creates a vibration that increases our good, increases the good for the entire world, and attracts more good. Even if what we have to be grateful for is little, it is enough to increase when the power of gratitude is applied. Think about Jesus when he fed the multitude. They bring up the food, and there's a couple baskets of fish and bread. Nowhere near enough to feed the crowd. But Jesus knew that all the food that was necessary was at hand. The people had it, they just weren't sharing it. It was there. And he said, thank you, God, that there is more than enough. And he got everybody into that energy of gratitude and then passed the baskets, and look what happened. Gratitude is a force, it's an energy, and it has the capacity to transform conditions, transform individuals, transform relationships, transform entire communities. Gratitude becomes a magnetic quality that draws to us as individuals, to us as nations, to us as societies, that draws to us what is needed in our lives. Because what we're doing when we're in that grateful attitude, we're creating the receptacle in consciousness for what already is. It elevates our perspective of life. Rather than focusing on what is lacking or challenging in our lives, gratitude encourages us to recognize and appreciate the abundance that surrounds us. Turn on your news. What will you see? War in the Middle East, war in the Ukraine, war somewhere else, crime, pestilence, whatever. And that's what we give our energy to when we're in that consciousness. What if we could be grateful for all the places in the world where peace prevails? There are communities in the Middle East right now where Palestinians and Israelis get along just fine, where they work together, play together, but you won't see that on the news. What if we put our energy, our consciousness into that? There are places in the world where people have more than enough. Their needs are met. What if we put our consciousness into there being more than enough for every human being? Where do we put our consciousness? Because gratitude creates a reciprocal cycle of positivity. That's hard to say. A reciprocal cycle of positivity. And when we acknowledge and appreciate the efforts and kindnesses of others in particular, it not only validates their actions, but it motivates them to continue these behaviors. That's how we begin to change the world. Amen. We put our energy into what is right, what is true, what is loving. And that is how it increases, rather than putting our energy into what we don't want, which is our normal way of doing things. What happens when we do that is we create a ripple effect where gratitude begets more gratitude, generosity begets more generosity, goodwill begets more goodwill. This works in relationships, whether personal, professional, or any other kind. Because when an individual feels seen and heard and appreciated, they are more likely to invest in and strengthen their connections. When they feel more appreciated, it fosters a sense of belonging and mutual respect, and that reinforces the bonds that tie people together. And these dynamics that are created on the personal level ripple outward, extend beyond our individual relationships to affect and shape the dynamics of entire communities. In environments where gratitude is cultivated and valued, people are more likely to collaborate, to support one another, to collectively work toward a common goal. You know, we don't hear much about what goes on in places like Africa. And yet there are communities in Africa that practice a philosophy called Ubuntu, where they really strive to see the best in each other. And when one person in their community maybe commits a crime, they don't throw him in jail. They surround him. And they whisper in his ear the truth. I remember when you did this for me. I see what a good person you are. And we know that you just forgot that for a minute. And we are here to remind you. It works. Wow. It works. This sense of shared appreciation builds a positive culture that attracts and retains people who are into that same vibration. And it helps people who may not be in that vibration yet raise their vibration. Myrtle Fillmore wrote extensively about how practicing gratitude is linked to healing, physical healing, mental healing, emotional healing. A person who has a good practice of gratitude has reduced stress, improved mood, and increased resilience. And what Myrtle Fillmore and others wrote 100 years ago, science is now documenting and proving. When individuals radiate these positive qualities in their life, they become not only healthier themselves, but more appealing to other people. And what happens is then those people begin to feel it. And it creates a loop, a positive feedback loop that grows and expands. As we embrace and share gratitude, we become beacons of positivity, drawing others to us and creating a collective force that enhances the overall well-being of individuals and communities alike. Thus, this is not only a personal virtue, it's a transformative force that has the potential to make a world that is more connected, more compassionate, and more harmonious. So you may be going, well, how do we do this? How do we really practice this and make it happen in our lives? Well, Myrtle gave us those steps too. The first is establish a daily gratitude practice. Start by reflecting on the things you are thankful for, whether it's the warmth of the sun, a supportive friend, or a simple cup of coffee. Acknowledge these moments because that sets a positive tone for the rest of the day. When I drive in the morning here, I live on the west side, And as I pull out onto Ellison, I see the mountain. And every day I am grateful for that mountain. Novella says that's my mistress, the mountain. One of them. The other one is the Jemez Mountains. There's so much to be grateful for. We live in one of the most beautiful places in the country, in my opinion. When I drive on the west side and I look out over the lights of the city at night, I feel that gratitude. What are you grateful for? And I am grateful for all of the people in my life, each and every one of you. You know, coming home to New Mexico from Missouri was not just coming back to the state, it was coming back to you guys. Many of you who I've known for decades, some I haven't known all that long, but you are family, no matter how long we've known each other. And we're going to be around, many of us, a family this year at Thanksgiving. And let's be honest, sometimes family and people we know are difficult, aren't they? And it's hard to feel that gratitude. Well, I have a video that will help you with that. Guys, can you hit our video?
You know what my favorite part of Thanksgiving is? Let me show you. This is Uncle Jerome, but we just call him Uncle Butters because he puts butter on everything.
Regina, it tastes like the Great Depression.
This is my niece Lorraine, and oh, I don't know her. Lorraine, who's your friend? Happy Thanksgiving, Lorraine. Meet Unc. You know that family member that always says inappropriate things? Yeah, this is ours.
Hey, Benny, what's the difference between a doctor, a lawyer, and a toilet?
And we're moving quickly.
I haven't had a diet with meat this delicious since I dined with the Wizards of Pandoria a fortnight ago.
This is my nephew, Derek. He still lives at home, and he's into role-playing.
Patriarch, partake of this most delicious of smoked meats.
Definitely not my favorite part. This is my cousin, Rachel. Hey,
You remembered! Pumpkin pie's the best!
you're the best. Hey, grease those wheels up. We're gonna race Annie Joan down the hill after dessert.
Hey! Who took my pumpkin pie? It was right here. You savages!
Don't worry, he'll be back. Thanks, honey. This is it. This is my favorite part of Thanksgiving, taking out the trash. I know what you're thinking. My family's kind of a mess, and we are. But that's not why this is my favorite part of Thanksgiving. You see, breaking away for just a moment, it gives me the opportunity to remember how much God has blessed me, and to realize that generally He uses messy people to do it. For instance, Lorraine always invites people over who need a little encouragement. She is the hands and feet of Jesus, even if those hands are texting most of the time. Derek is different, but he's also the first one to help anytime someone needs a hand. Unc, he's not even really family. He's just a close friend, and he makes me feel better about myself. Regina and Jerome may be high maintenance, but when the recession hit, they paid my mortgage for a few months. When we're all packed in the house together, I tend to forget the good stuff. So, taking out the trash, it just gives me a moment out here. And I remember how much God loves us, how much He's blessed us, no matter how big a mess we are. It doesn't take much, just a moment or two. That's all it takes to thank Him.
Who are you talking to, Benny? You see this, Benny? Do you see this? Somebody threw away a perfectly good piece of pumpkin pie in the trash. Hooligans. They're all hooligans, I tell you. Back in my day, we didn't have pumpkin pie. We had squash. We had to crunch those up and put paprika and cinnamon on it. Nasty, but we ate it. This is pumpkin pie. This is the real deal. Don't throw it away. You keep it. You eat it. Save it. Freeze it.
Kind of a humorous look. Sometimes in our world, we're kind of crowded in, and we just look at what is happening rather than the good that is always underneath what is happening. Taking out the trash, a great metaphysical representation of taking out our opinions that are drawn in the moment. Consciousness that is not serving, that we no longer need. So I invite you this Thanksgiving to take a moment when you might be feeling stressed or might be beginning to focus on the negativity, to take out your trash, figuratively. Take out those ideas. And remember, there is always, always good. Myrtle Fillmore said the second step is to express your appreciation to the people around you. A thank you note, a kind word, a small gesture can make a big difference in your life and their life. Another way we can be in that consciousness is to practice mindfulness, to stay present in the moment. When we're fully engaged in what we're doing, we're more likely to recognize and appreciate the beauty around us, the love around us, the richness around us. The next thing she advised takes a little bit of work. Turning your challenges into opportunities. Ooh, turning your challenges into opportunities. Embracing difficulties as opportunities for growth. Well, that sounds like fun. But what if we did that instead of dwelling on the setbacks? What if we said, okay, there is a learning here for me. I'm going to focus on the lesson and develop the strength to learn from this experience. Every challenge is an opportunity for growth. Every challenge is an opportunity to apply love and compassion for others, for ourselves. Every challenge is an opportunity to rise to a higher level of living. Of course, one of the ways we can do it as well is to practice acts of kindness. Small gestures, holding a door for somebody, offering a listening ear. Just little things. All of those are ways we can turn our Thanksgiving into thanks living. So what is gratitude really? I looked up the word, and it comes from a Proto-Indo-European word that meant to favor, to find favor, to see favor. But if you trace it back further to the Sanskrit, it meant to sing. To sing. What kind of song do we sing? A song of doom and gloom? A funeral dirge? Or do we see a song of life? A song of love? A song of birthing? Something newer and better. As I was looking the word up, I noticed something interesting. If you ever use the Oxford Dictionary or Etymology Dictionary, it tells you how many times a word, how many times it was used throughout history. And it's how many times per million words of literature. From 1800 to 1820, Western literature contained about 40 times of gratitude being used per million words of literature. That doesn't sound like a lot. But it began declining after 1820, until by the year 1980, it was fewer than 3 words per million. I find that interesting, looking at the history of especially the 20th century. Thankfully, it's starting to go back up. It's about 5.7 words in the year 2000, and it's up to 10 per per million right now. So if we want to have a better world, perhaps we can be a part of increasing the use of the word thankful. Thank you. I am grateful. For that is how we will turn our Thanksgiving into Thanks-living. Happy Thanksgiving.